sound. Oh, now we have sound. Oh, that's great, y'all. Come on in. Well, I'm sorry we were out of sound. Don't worry about it. It's just the music. And I forgot to hit the button to let you hear me, so I'm so sorry. But sit up straight and listen to these stories. Aunt Elaine is here, Aunt Deany, Uncle Kenneth, my dad, and my sister. Wait, she's over here. Yeah. Everything's backwards on this thing. And let's see who else. And Donna and Kelly, all family, Aunt Deany. Now, Daddy, the other day, yesterday when you were on, someone asked, here, scoot over here next to me a little bit. Here, yeah. Okay, there you go. Someone asked how you met Mama, and we got into it, but then we got distracted, and so we want to hear how you met Mama.
Well, I got to give you a little background first.
Okay.
I'm 17 years old. I'm 135 pounds, and I'm 5'6". My older brother, 2 years older than me, had been in the Merchant Marines for about 2 years, and I went to summer school the last 2 years of high school and eliminated the 12th year. So at 17, I joined the Merchant Marines, which is a division of the Coast Guard. And the first Sunday I was on the ship, of course, the all tanker that I was on was 318 feet long, and they served us food. I didn't have to leave the ship unless we were in dock, and they needed some help loading the ships, whatever. But anyway, the first Sunday, Mr. Atlas sat down across from at the breakfast table.
You're getting sidetracked.
Well, I got to tell this so it'll make sense.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm 17 years old, and I'm on the ship for 14 months, and I get off. During that time, all my pay, except $5 a month, was sent to my mother, and she put it in the bank in Houston, Texas, every month. I had saved over $3,000 in 14 months.
And you bought a car.
And
you told that yesterday.
Well, wait a minute now. Anyway, when I got off the ship, I was 5'9". I weighed 165 pounds. And when I worked out with Mr. Atlas the first night that he asked me to work out with.
Mr. Atlas is who?
I forgot his name.
But I mean, you mean he worked out? He was.
He would carry these.
And he helped you gain weight. Let's get to Mama.
Well, we're about to get there. You got to get me fixed up first.
Okay. He worked out, he bulked up, he looked good, and then Mama.
Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
I was 5'9" and weighed
30-minute show, Daddy.
And weighed 165 pounds, and I was pressing 185.
Okay.
14 months prior to that, I couldn't even lift 125. So I'm driving a brand new 1950 Plymouth that I purchased for $2,009. And the very next Sunday at our little country church, Golf Drive Baptist Church, just outside of Houston, Texas, in Harris County, I asked somebody how things were going. They said, well, we're having a Valentine's party this Saturday night. So his friend said, I'll get you a blind date. I said, oh, okay. So we go to this Valentine's party, and this good-looking little blonde, she was 17 years old, 1 month from turning 18, playing the piano. So the next Sunday at church, I said, who was that good-looking little blonde? To a girl named Betty Jo Daniels. She said, that's my best friend, Beverly Gale Davis. I said, oh, okay. Well, the very next day, on a Monday, I'm driving my new Plymouth down Gravel Road, Roslyn Road, which is now 34th Street in Houston, Texas. And two girls are walking towards my house. And the one that I asked who that girl was playing the piano was walking Beverly Gale Davis towards my house. And I stopped and I introduced myself to Beverly Gale Davis and said, can I have your phone number? She gave me her phone number. Of course, we didn't have cell phones, the old dial phone.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, and a few days later, I called her up and asked her if she'd go to the movie with me.
A few days? You waited a few days?
Yeah, I sure did.
Quicker, Daddy, quicker.
Self-control.
Self-control, Uncle Kenneth said.
Anyway.
So y'all went on a date. Where'd you go? Do you know?
Went to a movie, and she was very nice, and we dated for that was in February 1951, and we married August the 22nd, 1953. And that's the history of me meeting and marrying a lady who started college at age 46, went 4 years at Liberty Baptist College, which is now Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. And she made all A's in every subject she took. Then she signed up for Lynchburg University for 2 years and got a master's degree and made all A's for 2 years except one A minus. And I thought I was going to have to bury her when she told me she made an A minus. And then Liberty hired her, and she taught child psychology at Liberty University for 17 years. And I got one more thing I want to tell. It's okay.
Tell it.
We're going down the highway years ago. I'm driving at 55 miles an hour. She's sitting in the passenger front seat. Out of the clear, she says, if I died today, you'd be remarried in 2 weeks. Nobody was talking about dying. Nobody was talking about remarrying. And she said, I know who you'd marry. I said, well, give me a hint. She named 2 of the homeless old maids in our church. And now she's been in heaven 8 years and 1 month.
Someone asked the other day, do you have any hobbies?
Playing hearts is my hobby.
On your computer?
On my computer. That's my hobby.
Yeah.
And I try to win every time because I don't want to be a loser.
And then back here we have Uncle Kenneth. Hey, Uncle Kenneth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You got any stories of Daddy growing up?
He
was 4 years older than you.
Well, Daddy, your daddy was the impossible hurdle I could never overcome.
Yeah?
He was too old to mess around with a little kid.
Right.
But one time he blamed on me the fact that he said I cut holes in his basketball goal, and I didn't. I think Glenn did that, but I got the blame. And he thoroughly worked me over, and I said, Glenn, you're going to get it. But I could never overcome Glenn. We were the same size, but he was always 15 months older. And Charles was over 3 years older. And Gene was the one that got me in trouble. He was my oldest brother, ended up being a Democrat and a psychiatrist. And he loved to get me in trouble with the babysitters.
Now, this is your oldest brother, Uncle Gene.
Brother.
And Daddy was next, and then Glenn. Uncle Glenn, then you.
Then me.
Yeah.
And then Mother had 2 more accidents 10 and 15 years later. And we called them Elaine and Linda. But we had a great family.
Yes.
I always admired Charles for going to church. He went to church. I didn't know if he had a girlfriend was the reason, but he always went to church.
Huh.
And I was so proud of my brother.
And now you became a missionary.
Well, that's missionaries, because they're not good preachers always, they make good missionaries.
Oh, my.
And I made a good missionary because I wasn't that good a preacher.
Oh, Uncle Gene. Uncle Kenneth, you're crazy.
But the Lord looked after me. One time in Nigeria, this guy stuck a shotgun in my chest. And I told him he didn't have to get too close. That thing would work 12 feet away. And I got him laughing, and he didn't shoot me. And I was
God.
sort of glad about that.
Yeah.
Another time I was in Mexico, and they hauled me off to jail. I didn't know we weren't supposed to show movies of Jesus on the walls of the pharmacy in that town. So they hauled me off, and I was about 38, and I knew more then than I do now. And I got to the officer, and I told him, I said, listen here, you're going to put me in jail for preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And one day God's going to deal with you for what you do today to one of his servants. And I got him under conviction. And he let me go. He said I could come back any Sunday and preach to the prisoners. I didn't want to go back.
Well, Uncle Kenneth, let's introduce everybody else. Sitting next to you is your lovely bride of how many years?
63.
Aunt Deany, 63 years.
65 for me.
Oh.
Well, that's another whole long story.
Well, it took me a while to get her to marry me.
Okay.
The story I want to tell about Charles that I heard, because I wasn't there,
This way.
when Kenneth started to school, he had a brother that was in, I guess, he was in first grade. Glenn was in second grade, and Charles, I guess, was in third or fourth. I don't know.
Fifth.
But Glenn and Kenneth were having a fight on the schoolyard.
I started it.
I don't doubt it. And and so the teacher said to Charles, your brother, that new boy's fighting with your brother. And the story I heard was Charles shrugged his shoulders and said, they're both my brothers.
Yeah, both of them.
He could care less.
Okay, this next one is Elaine.
Yes, there's Elaine. Let me get where I can see her. This is Daddy's baby sister. And Daddy tells a story about you came home. Before we get to Elaine, I want Daddy to tell the story about when you came home from Merchant Marines.
Well, which story do you want
About
me?
Elaine being your new baby sister.
I was gone 14 months from home in the Merchant Marines, and I came home. My mother said, Charles, go look in that bedroom. I went in there. There was baby Elaine laying on that little bed.
Oh,
I think it was Linda, y'all.
you do?
It was Linda.
No, it was Elaine.
You're 19. You were 19, and
Speaking of that.
I don't want to correct them.
No, go ahead. Speak in the mic, though.
Well, hello. This is the way that I have heard the story. You know, we're all Lowry, so we probably all have our own version.
Yeah.
But but anyway, Charles was 19, and he is 19 years older than my younger sister Linda. So it was Linda that Charles saw in the bassinet when he first saw Linda, and he didn't know Mother was expecting. So that was quite a surprise.
Well, y'all looked so much alike, I didn't know you were different.
I want to tell you about my position in the family. I have 4 older brothers, and I always felt very secure having 4 older brothers. Kenneth is 10 years older than I am, and Charles is 13 years older than I am. And I am 13 years older than Mark. So in the Lowrys, we never had any clear division of generations. You just kept going and going. And it's a wonderful big family. We are blessed. God has blessed us with generational blessings, and we are very thankful for the parents we had and the grandparents that Mark and Missy have. I have to tell you about the power of prayer in our family. I thank God that I was able to be born into a Christian family that believed in the Lord Jesus Christ. And Mother and Daddy took us to church really every time the doors were open. It was Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesdays. And anyway, Charles, my Mark's father tells the story that he prayed for a baby sister, and I came along. I'm 13 years younger than Charles. And then I wanted a baby sister, so I prayed at the age of 5 for a baby sister. And at the age of 6 and 3 days, my baby sister Linda was born. At that point, a little bit later on, mothers asked us to stop praying for more children. So there's 6 of us.
That is fantastic. And Linda would be here, your baby sister, Linda, but she has come down with COVID. So if you think about it, pray for Linda and Lewis. They would be here.
Kleeman,
yeah. I said, yeah, Linda and Lewis Kleeman. And over here is my baby sister, Melissa. And introduce who you got in your arms.
Yes, I have the smartest Lowry in the group. This is Sienna.
Hold her up so they can see her.
Okay, here, you want to hold her?
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, this is Sienna.
Look at her.
And she's really shy. But a story I remember my dad telling me growing up has to do with Uncle Kenneth. And they had gone to see the Mummy, the movie The Mummy. And they came home and they wanted to wrap Kenneth up like a mummy.
Yeah.
So they took some kind of tape and wrapped him from head to toe. And when Grandma came home, all they could see of Kenneth was his eyes and his nose.
Is that true? You remember that?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when she unpeeled him, he was redder than a lobster. So they had a lot of fun at Uncle Kenneth's expense. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah. Well, I want y'all to tell somebody who can remember. Let me get back on the big camera. Somebody who can remember. I want to tell about how y'all used your wedding, all your friends, kidnapping Mama.
Well,
This y'all played jokes on each other, right?
that was summer of.
But we didn't have TV.
What?
We didn't have television.
Hold that, and if you want to say something too. Yeah, Uncle Kenneth and Daddy, and who else was involved in that shenanigans of ruining everyone's weddings? I mean,
Well, some.
Uncle Gene was the one who started it.
Joe, too.
Betty Joe, Mama's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
That
you
was
remember?
that was the summer of 1953, and we had 8 couples get married that summer, and Beverly and I were the jokers of the crowd. We would go. They'd be having after the wedding. They'd be having a dinner someplace, and we'd go let the air out of the tires.
You and Mama.
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't.
And so we had 8 couples at least that wanted to get even with us.
Yeah.
So I had a friend, and we made a plan, and we drove my 50 Plymouth over to a street. And in those days, we didn't have drain pipes. We had drain ditches, and we laid a plank from the street, the end of this gravel street, to this other road over the ditch. And what we did, we parked my car there, locked the doors, and this friend of mine, after we got married and came out of the church, we got in his car, and he drove us downtown Houston, and there was 5 cars behind us, following us. And this driver made a wrong turn in downtown Houston, and we went the wrong way down a one-way street. And I looked back and I said, hey, there's 6 cars up behind us. That 6th car was a police car. And so this boy drives, and we get back into this neighborhood, and Beverly and I, we get out of the car, and this big cop grabs my shoulder and says, were you driving? I said, no, sir. He said, well, you can leave. And I walked across the plank, helped Beverly across the plank, and my older brother, 2 years older than me, he had a bag in his hand, and he had some fish and some other meat, and his plan was to put that under my car seat when I was driving. But since the police were writing tickets to these 5 car drivers, he stuck it under the driver's seat of the police car.
Oh no!
And the police wrote every driver, all 5 of them, a $90 ticket for going down the wrong way in a one-way street in downtown Houston.
$90 in 1950. 53 is a lot of money.
I'm telling you, but they were really mad too. I don't know how they felt when they smelled that dead fish.
You had a footprint on your coat because they kidnapped Mama. Your friends kidnapped your wife, and they walked on you, I heard.
But that was later.
Oh, what happened?
Well, we stopped again, and some of them followed us when the police wrote the tickets.
So they wouldn't let up. They just.
That's right.
And finally, Mama was in a car with all these friends of y'all's, these men friends of you that had kidnapped her, and she finally just started crying and said, "I just want to go home." And she said that car got so silent, and they turned around and took her to Nanny's. Is that right?
Yeah, and we, in that 50 Plymouth, we drove from Houston to Denver
For your honeymoon.
on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And when we got back, we went to her parents' house, and her mother fixed us a sandwich for supper at 6 o'clock in the kitchen. And she backed up to the sink and said, "Now, Charles, this is what you got to do." And I could feel the blood coming up in my ears. And about that time, I heard my father-in-law, as he entered the door to the kitchen, so her name's Josephine, but he called her Joe. And he said, "Joe, you have one son-in-law who hates your guts. You trying for two?" And I could feel the blood coming back down out of my ears. And I had made a good relationship with my father-in-law.
Yeah. Well, I love these old stories. I love my family. The Lowry family is something because they all talk at once. But yet they can, I'm not here, they're all clammed up here, but if we weren't on camera, they're all talking at once. We just came from dinner. We ate at the Barbecue Inn. In fact, I said something at the table, and Missy, who was talking to someone on the other side of the table, entered into the conversation to correct me, and then she's back into that. I mean, everybody's listening to every conversation and adding their opinion, which I love. Well, anybody else? Let's see, Colleen's back there. And introduce your daughters-in-law, Uncle Kenneth. Or Deany. Let Deany. She doesn't get to talk much. She's always submitting.
This is our daughter-in-law, Donna. She was married to our son, David, who got to go to heaven before the rest of us. This is my other daughter-in-law, Kelly. And I have 2 more daughter-in-laws, actually.
How many children?
Have 5 children, 4 sons and 1 daughter.
And?
We have 18 grandchildren, but that's all. Those factories are all closed. And then in end of January, we'll have 15 great-grandchildren.
Isn't that something?
So we are blessed out of our boots.
How old were you when you had your first child?
22.
Oh, so you didn't get started that early. I mean, 22 is early, but not for all these think about great-grandchildren, because you started at 19.
I know.
Kelly,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
And she had her first grandchild when she was 44. That just seems young to me.
It was.
So you get to grow old with your grandchildren. That is so much fun. Missy, when are we going to have grandchildren?
Caitlin's only 17, so it's going to be a while.
Okay.
But you want to announce?
Yeah, we did. Courtney, my niece Courtney, is expecting May 29th, I think. And tomorrow will be the gender reveal. And Daddy and I are going up there to watch it. Colleen's going to go with us. And so it's going to be fun. Well, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Anybody else got any more stories before we go? Come on.
Well, there's this story about Kenneth's older brother that was really mechanically inclined, and he took Grandma Lowry's watch out and took it all apart and couldn't figure out how to put it back together. So he buried it, I understood, behind the garage, and then he blamed Kenneth for doing it.
But he gave me the credit.
He gave
for
you
it.
the credit.
And I always wanted to be famous. And Daddy helped to take some of that desire away.
I have one little story about Mark.
Oh.
when he was a baby, I was able to babysit Mike and Mark just a little bit every now and then. And Beverly, Mark's mother, told me that Mark didn't like people with brown eyes. Now, his mother and daddy had blue eyes, or greenish blue eyes, and his brother has blue eyes. And so when Mark was 6 months old, and when he was in a playpen, and it was daytime, and his mother probably had just gone for an errand or two. She taught piano lessons, so maybe she was teaching piano lessons, but she wasn't in the house. And I was there with Mike and Mark and Linda, my little sister. And Linda is only 4 years older than Mark, so you see how our family generation just keeps going. But when Mark would see me, and he was 6 months old, he would cry because I had brown eyes. So I would send, he was in a playpen, so I would send Mike, and Mike was just a little older, I think 2 years older, 2.5 years older than Mark, and I'd say, go check on Mark, make sure he's okay. And so Mike would go in and check on Mark, and Mark wouldn't cry. Anyway, about 2 hours later, Beverly came home, and everything was fine.
Oh, good. I didn't know that. I never knew I didn't like people with brown eyes.
At 6 months of age.
At 6 months of age. Well, we got a request to sing something together, so we're going to let you hold that right there. And we're going to do Every Day with Jesus as we close today. Oh, you know what? I've got to fix this. Wait a minute. Hold on. I have got to fix this. This is absolutely unacceptable. I've got to fix this. Let me see. It'll reboot. Hold on. They're mowing the grass. Can y'all hear it? All right, let's see if this works now. See if it tunes in. Let me just check this, y'all. Patience with me. It's connected. Here we go. Every Day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. That's a good one. Everybody sing. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus, I love him more and more. Sing, Daddy. Jesus saves and keeps me, and he's the one I'm living for. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Sing it again. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus, I love him more and more. Jesus saves and keeps me, and he's the one I'm living for. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus, I love him more and more. Jesus saves and keeps me, and he's the one I'm living for. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. All right, y'all, I'm glad you got to meet my family, and I will see you when I see you.